IntelliAM is on a mission to transform the landscape of asset management through the unparalleled capabilities of machine learning. It's also on a mission to float on the Aquis exchange. I'm delighted to be joined by the Chief Executive, Tom Clayton. So, Tom, what is the problem that IntelliAM solves?
Hi, Sarah. Thanks. So IntelliAM is a machine learning platform which is focused on the manufacturing space, particularly the food and beverage industries. Ultimately, it's about driving productivity, and it's done through various means. Firstly, it's through increased throughput or reducing waste streams. It's through increased reliability. Obviously, it supports a lot of the ESG targets of these organizations with things like supply chain improvement and sustainability as well. So that's essentially what the product's about.
So you sound like a sort of a food manufacturer's dream. So are you able to name names? Are you able to tell us some?
I'm not able to name names as such because I would seek permission. But what I would say is we are already serving 50% of the world's largest food and beverage organizations and many of the world's top 100 FMCG organizations with engineering and asset management solutions, including IntelliAM. So that's what I would say.
Do they stick with you? What's the churn rate like?
Yeah, they certainly do stick with us. We've got fantastic contracts of long-serving relationships with the clients, and the IntelliAM platform itself, whilst it's providing insights with the sort of power of AI in order to create huge value for these organizations, part of the insights is creation of opportunity in new areas, things you can't see. But a large part of the system is about governance. So it's actually controlling the everyday operation down to minute-by-minute operation in terms of making sure the correct tolerances are right, the correct run speeds for different skews going down the lines and things like that. So it's certainly a product that we envisage will become extremely sticky and important to the clients in order to achieve the sort of benefits that they need to within their sector.
So is governance your key differentiator? What is it that you can do that competitors can't, assuming that there are competitors out there?
Yeah, so well, that's an interesting question. So, I mean, there's a lot of noise at the moment about driving productivity in the UK, and the truth is it's sort of flatlined. It's around about 0.2% improvement over the last year. When you look at what the improvement is required, it's sort of 5 to 20% improvement necessary to meet growing populations. So it's quite a significant shortfall in terms of the requirement. And what we're able to do is something far greater than what I would say our competitors are doing. So at the moment, there's a lot of noise in the marketplace, or certainly in manufacturing, around what is termed predictive AI, which is often providing sensors and some sort of hardware solution in order to obtain data to a cloud and broadly apply some sort of alarm criteria or predictive maintenance type criteria as a solution. What our solution is doing is obtaining information, vast amount of information by comparison. So what might be sort of 600 data points a month on a manufacturing line to typically assess condition, we're actually taking up to 400 million data points a month from existing equipment without the use of any hardware. So it's taking it from the existing controls of the machines, the brains of the machines, alongside the auxiliary equipment and controls and other sensors that we can interact with. And obviously with that, we create much greater insights that are not just about component prediction and prevention, but it's actually about improving manufacturing performances, setup criteria, changeover criteria, hygiene, etc., etc. So it goes way beyond what we see our competitors are providing in the marketplace.
So with all that information and all that data, I'm just wondering, can your solutions be easily absorbed into an organization's framework, or does it require a complete infrastructure overhaul?
Yeah. Actually, quite the opposite. So it's probably, again, when you compare it to the sort of traditional sale of the AI, they are requiring the investment in some sort of hardware and therefore an interface. Our solution is quite different. All the telemetry and the control systems already exist, and this data becomes redundant data. So actually, we're simply installing edgeware, which can be done very non-intrusively, not having no effect on everyday production at all. and then we build out through the cloud computing the necessary solution for our clients. So it doesn't have any impact is the answer to the question, and it's quite a simple installation.
So hypothetically, what savings can a client make when they employ your solutions?
Yeah, so within industry, there's operational efficiency is normally the focus, and there's a sort of common metric for that. And when you look at the food and beverage industry, it sort of sits around the sort of 50% mark. The higher performers perhaps above 70%. There's still huge opportunity for growth. When we talk about boosting operational efficiency, which is what this product's about, 1%. If it's, for example, supply of wheat, it means X thousands or millions loaves of bread without the need to harvest more fields. Or we're talking milk supply, it means not the requirement for more cows, but vast amount of more milk in the marketplace, which is obviously of huge value to these clients. Depending on the rollout and the scale, obviously this can be significant amounts of money to these organisations, which is what makes it interesting, not just to the sort of engineering operational teams, but the COO or the CEO of these businesses. So the value is big, but the monetary terms, that's for them to talk about.
And what's interesting to me is the date of your intended listing on the Aquis Exchange, the day before the general election. So why July the 3rd, and why the Aquis Exchange? What's the rationale?
Yes, the date is somewhat, I guess, slightly out of control. It's been a day. It's just a typical IPO process. We've wanted to get the IPO process complete as soon as possible. The original target date was around sort of 3 weeks earlier, but this has been a typical overrun. And I think we've gone through the process still relatively quickly with that as well. In terms of the Aquis Exchange, we did a pre-marketing roadshow, spoke to many investors as well as our advisors, and from discussions about the exchange, that was the sort of place that we decided to go when you consider the size of the company and the sort of structure of the business. And our belief is that we're going to achieve significant growth, grow on that pipeline, and obviously we're in a place to grow the business in that area, and that's why we chose to do it.
But what you're raising seems to be a modest sum. I'm assuming that this is because the company is already revenue generating, and what will the funds be used for?
Yeah, so there's an existing business, of course, of 10 years old, or 12 years old, should I say, and to grow the clients that we have and the relationships that we have. And that has a big team, including automation, some of the requirements in order to drive this platform. So the reason we essentially decided to go to the IPO is because we realised that we need to increase in data science and software engineering teams to drive on the pipeline with effectively the new product, the IntelliAM AI product. So we decided to go to IPO for that reason, and to generate fundraising in that way, and ultimately the funds will be used for people. So arguably for the first sort of 1 to 2 years, we have the clients in place, and we believe we can become the sort of definitive standard by driving on the sort of names and logos that we have. We believe that we could quickly become the sort of definitive standard machine learning product in this area. So, and in order to do that, we want to get there first. And so, to get there first, you need to quickly raise money, obtain the right staff, and then obviously we can drive on it. So that's really the purpose.
So the definitive standard. I'm just wondering what the long-term vision is. You've just said you've been around for 12 years. So what's the bigger plan?
Yeah, so I guess that is part of it. So we continue our services and consulting business, which is a growing and very profitable organisation in its own right. The platform, ultimately we realise that we can generate much greater value for our clients through the platform from just the services and consultation itself. And obviously we want to get to our clients first and give them that competitive advantage. Now, ultimately, we recognise that by rolling across a number of these groups quite quickly, we can become that standard in the marketplace, and that is ultimately our objective, particularly in the FMCG space. And then obviously from that, we can consider other verticals for which it could easily be applied to as well.
Just a couple more questions, if I may. How confident are you that a South Yorkshire-based artificial intelligence platform could become a global unicorn?
Yeah. As a proud Yorkshireman, quite confident, I'll say that. But our location is actually quite I would say it's a strategic advantage. So one of the, perhaps didn't say it earlier, but one of the technical advantages to the role of our platform is it does rely on a lot of domain expertise within manufacturing, and we're obviously based in something of a manufacturing heartland where we are here, and so in order to obtain some of the skills that we need, we're sort of right in the sort of epicenter of it in that respect. And then similarly, when you look at the growth of the people that we need to drive it, and certainly in the data science side of which is probably where the greatest number of employment is going to come from, we're sort of slap bang between not just Sheffield where we're based, but also Leeds and Nottingham, which produce in themselves large pools of data scientists. So we're in a really good place for recruitment as well. So I think we're in an ideal spot in that respect.
An ideal, perhaps a sweet spot. So finally, when you list, why should investors put IntelliAM on their portfolio watch list?
Yeah, I think ultimately, the first and foremost is that we've got ambitious plans. We've got a huge pipeline of fantastic customers which we need to support, and that's going to create growth and return on investment, which is ultimately what investors wish to see. But obviously, secondly to that, I think we're serving a purpose that the nation requires. I think people are doing a lot of talk about productivity. I think we're a true solution for driving productivity and meeting a lot of the ESG targets that people talk about. And I think there will be fast in demand for that in respect to the rollout, which is obviously, again, going to support the growth in the business. So quite confident. And I would say that, I think that for many reasons, we're a great company to invest in.
Busy time. And thank you for your time, Tom Clayton, Chief Executive of IntelliAM. Thank you very much indeed.